Those are available on Right Now Media. Tony Evans has almost all of his video series on Right Now Media. There's kids programs on there. It is basically a streaming service that is all focused on Christ. It's not going to be movies. It's not like PureFlix. It's going to be more like, hey, these are videos to teach you about the life of Paul, documentaries, things like that. The kids' videos, they do have like their first 3 seasons of Superbook on there, and every episode. And but I had talked to the deacons. I said, hey, take a look at this, see what you think. I think that if our church will get behind using it, it is well worth it. So after a quarter of using it, we can see if people in the church are using it. If they're not, then we just cancel our subscription with them. But this is free to you. If you have an app, if you have a Amazon TV or a Fire Stick or a phone, you can download the Right Now Media app. It has daily devotional videos if you want to watch those. It's just a really good tool. But we need to get names and email addresses where you would like to have the invitation sent to. Our official launch day is October 22nd. And so, but we want to get this out. I want to go ahead and get all the names on here so I can send Right Now Media the email addresses so that the invitations go right to your email, and then you can start using the app. Renee and I looked at just a little bit tonight. Again, I was already kind of familiar because we use some of the stuff from Right Now Media for men's meetings, and so I think it will be a great tool because again, one of my burdens for us as a church is for us to make sure that our foundation is solid. And what better way to have a solid foundation than to continually put the Word of God in front of us? And it's not to say, oh, well, we have to go home every day and we got to watch a documentary about the Bible. That's not what I'm saying, but I think that there's tools on here that can be used. Other things that are really neat on there is I can, as the pastor, and then other leaders in the church so like Brother Glenn and Brother Mike, they're administrators as well with this. If we're going through a series and we find like a video series that kind of goes along with what we're preaching, we can send emails that week and say, hey, listen, this was a great video that will just add on to what we've been learning at church. If you have a moment, go and watch that. It'll be a great tool to you. And so it'll be just, and the other thing that's really cool about it is once we sign up for it, so we're a church of up to 100, so we can have 100 accounts ready to watch this. And so, but what else is really cool about it is we can also print out like cards with QR codes on it. So like, let's just say that you're talking to somebody and they're really interested about a subject, and you're like, I don't know if I can completely answer that question, but you find a video that answers that question, you can print it out with a QR code and say, here, take this. This will probably answer a lot of the questions that you have. There's gospel videos on there, so we could even take gospel tracks, put a QR code on them, and get them into the community, and it's free for anybody to go watch that video when we print those out and hand those out. And so it's a great opportunity. I think it will be a great service. And I'm going to remind us for the next month about it. And then even once we get it in the hands of everyone, I'm going to remind you, hey, be using this tool. If you're watching it and you find something that's interesting to you that you might be like, hey, I really like this video, share it with other people. But the more that we get saturated in the Word of God, the stronger our faith is, the closer we walk with Christ. And there might be questions that you have that you're like, I don't know if I want to ask Pastor about that. But you find a video and you're like, whoa, hey, that answered my question. And so, but I'm going to hand this out now. And then if you guys just want to kind of pass it around, Alton, help pass that around. And then if you guys put your name and email address on there, that'd be great. Yes, Frank. Absolutely, it's for everyone. Yeah, I mean, we have 100 accounts. And we don't have 100 families at the church, so yeah, put your name and email because I'll put a data sheet together and send that to them. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to dive right into the Bible. I forgot to send reminders out about sending prayer requests in. So that was my fault. My mind got busy with other things today, so I'm sorry. We will try to make this a habit, though, of sending out a reminder on Tuesday nights. Hey, don't forget to send your prayer request by 2 o'clock on Wednesday so we can print out a prayer list. I forgot to do that, so. Oh, can you? I'll have to look at that. Okay. If there is, I'll just do that because, yes, very much so. Also, dinner this week is casseroles. Yeah, casseroles. So, casseroles. So I know if you guys could help us out, and again, I'll send out a reminder sooner probably. Maybe I need to start doing that on Fridays because I know Penny had to go and get soup for Sunday because there was only 2 crock pots of soup. I probably need to add them. I probably do. Yeah. Well, no, I have added all the new members, but not necessarily all the new people that have started coming because, yeah, but the new members all have, yeah. We made sure that they were all on there. Yes. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I have people ask me every week, "Hey, what are we supposed to bring for dinner?" And then I tell them, and they still don't bring anything. So it's not that they don't get it. It's yeah. Well, and one thing is obviously with Miss Penny leaving, we're gonna have to kind of think about lunch. I'm really good. I really would like us just to keep simple. Yes, simple and cheap. Maybe you can think of simple and cheap meals. Finger food meals are great. Those are pretty cheap. Salad is good. Sandwich Sunday, my favorite. I love Sandwich Sunday. Glenn doesn't love Sandwich Sunday. Next week's Sandwich Sunday, by the way. No, it was on the calendar for Sandwich Sunday next week. Although we probably should have done potluck because we're having a missionary that week. Yeah? Okay. Well, we could do that. Gotcha. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so it will cook fast. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the word because we are already 10 minutes into service. So let's get into here. So we are scratching the surface still. We only got 2 questions done last week. That's okay, and we can take our time going through this. Number 3, pick one of the 3 sections of this passage listed below and write a mock newspaper article, complete with headline, that describes the events as if reporting to the general audience hearing about it for the first time. Be creative. All right, so does anybody have a mock newspaper article that you've written? Yes. Here's somebody needs to pass a mic. All right, I guess Alex. Alex. I'll keep one on that side and I'll keep one on this side. You guys just pass it that way.
I didn't bring mine.
Frank, whack.
No, my.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Go Goat head. No, I did mine on B, the calling of the disciples. Properly left their boats. I did it as a scene of a reporter watching this very, I don't know how to say eccentric type of person, because I don't think Jesus was a very non-talkative person.
Oh no, I don't think so.
You know, there's a picture that Kara brought brought home of this painting or sculpture of Jesus that we have in our house that is my absolute favorite painting I've ever had of Jesus. It's but of this man just taking people from their boats.
Yeah.
Or they're leaving with him, and I don't remember all. I wrote a paragraph too. It was pretty fun. I don't remember most of it.
All right. I use that one too, so I'll read mine in a minute.
I remember what I wrote, I just can't read it. Here we go. John the Immersionist, immersing a clean soul. Today, John the Immerser, after all the sinners he has led to wash in reverence of the need to have a clean, repented life, has today immersed for the first time, one and only time, a clean soul, one that did not need immersing. At the point of his completion of this project, the sky opened up, and a dove flew down, and now a loud sound came across saying, "This was my son, who I am very well pleased of." More to follow.
Very good. All right, I'll do mine. I did the same one that Robbie did. I was trying to pick one that I thought nobody else would do, but apparently Robbie and I think alike. So, yeah, great minds. Yeah. Seasoned fishermen leave their occupation. The village is swirling with rumors that the most seasoned fishermen, Peter and Andrew, along with Zebedee's sons, James and John, are leaving their occupation to follow a rogue preacher named Jesus. What will this do to the fishing industry of this small community? We asked Zebedee to comment on his son's leaving. I was surprised by this man calling out to us. We were minding our own business, mending our nets, but this Jesus seemed to be trying to get the attention of my sons. He asked them if they would follow him. They looked to me, and I looked back at them, and they looked to him. When I saw that Peter and Andrew followed, I squeezed their shoulders, and they knew that they must leave me and their occupation. I don't know why they should go, but deep down in my heart, I know they must go. I was talking about being a Jew. Now I sound like a Jewish Mexican. All right. Anybody else with the headline and story? I've been practicing that because I'm going to try out for the Fiddler on the Roof. Yes. Yes, just hold on to it for now. I'll grab that and remind me to grab it because I'll probably forget. All right, Alton will grab it. Very good. Put it on the counter back there, the foyer back there. Yes. It's going to be at the old high school. So tryouts start in November. So I'm gonna try out for it. Yeah. I had another guy at the school, Dave Morgan. He said, "Good, maybe you'll beat those Mormon guys out." So, number 4, it could be said that the ministry of John the Baptist was expressly to point people towards Jesus Christ. What person or persons in your life has exemplified this same single-minded purpose? All right? Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to cry, but it's gonna happen anyways. Miss Sue Kelly, like her whole everything she's ever done was for God. When her daughters came for their for her memorial service, they had just mentioned how her husband passed away and she lived her life for God. She never moved on. She just lived her life for God and for her kids. And everyone who ever met her, you could see it in her.
Mm-hmm.
She never had anything bad to say. I took her to the store a few times and she would never like have any sort of like even a gluttony thought of I want to eat all those cookies. She never acted like that. She was just always composed and quiet, and everything was well thought out before she spoke. And she was just a kind person.
Mm.
And I believe that everything that she did was for God's glory.
Amen.
That and Miss Bev, she was awesome too.
All right, Miss
Not
Kelly.
getting into it.
I have to agree about Miss Bev because I had two, and Miss Bev was one of them. Pardon me? Not so
Well,
much.
you can say yours
You
in
can
a
say
minute.
your side.
Oh, shh.
Mine though was Joe Urquiaga. You didn't know him here. He passed away before, but that man, I know a lot of his backstory because I worked with my boss. He tried to date her mother when her husband died. But that man was amazing. After he was saved, and he learned about tithing, he worked to pay every penny of the tithe from the time he started working to them to make up for it. And at his funeral, Angela knows, people testified how they came up and gave testimony how if you came to his house at night at a certain time when he had devotions, if you came, you were in devotions. He lived his life 100% for God in not a pretentious way, in a very loving, even when he was here, really kind man too. But Miss Sue Kelly, Bev Vontner, and Joe Urquiaga were all in the same period of time. And they did, and he's a man too that raised 4 kids on his own because his wife was in an iron lung in Hawthorne for
wow.
years. I mean, it's just really a good Christian man.
Yeah.
You don't see that.
Mm.
Like, at least I haven't seen that much.
Yeah.
Made a big impact on my life.
Yeah. That's good.
Miss Catherine, I always admired her because she was the first one. She'll grab your hand and pray.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter where you're at.
Yep.
And she wasn't ashamed to do that either.
Yeah. All right, Frank, hit him with your best shot.
No, don't. I tend to scream, no, and bleed. I have this friend. I've known him probably over 20 years. His name's Larry Eubank. Larry. No, his name is Larry Eubank. I'm not kidding. No, it's spelled different too. Larry is a self-made millionaire. I'm not kidding. And Larry would tell me and take me to the side and say, "You're doing things wrong." And when I would ask him, he would sit me down and tell me exactly how. And he would show me out of the Bible. And still to this day, he would show me how. I've been dealing with things, and I'm coming under attack from Satan. And I would tell him where and how. And he said, "Well, Frank, here's why you're doing it wrong. I have a tendency to want to conflict and confront head on." And I do, I'll admit it. I will confront people head on and tell them and ask them why. And he said, "Frank, you need to pray." He said, "You need to sit down and pray, and you need to stop." Even the person I confronted, the first thing out of their head or out of the text that they sent me was "stop." The first words. I knew where it was coming from, the attack. Satan doesn't attack you head on. He attacks subtly and with a whisper, usually to others. And even though it was a very real thing that was going on, it was a subtle attack. See, I found the difference between good and evil, and from Larry. Larry is a ex-drug addict. He's got more time clean than I have alive, and which amazes me, because I met Larry in a meeting, even though I had no business being there. And it amazes me that somebody who was a drug addict can teach me these things from a Bible. Larry's a Baptist. And he said, "Frank, you're acting evil." He said, "You are acting violent, you're acting mean, you're acting confrontational." He said, would Christ act that way? No, he wouldn't.
Mm.
And for the first time in probably years, I broke down, and Larry's right. And often I have to tell Larry he's right. And Larry, for some reason, will tell me to pull out my Bible and start reading here, 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 and here. And for some reason, when Larry tells me, I remember it. Not often do I remember things. And when Larry tells me, I remember it. So as I'm sitting there breaking down, I remember it. And I owe some a really good friend of mine, an apology, but at the same token, it was a very real attack. And it was subtle. It came from a whisper from others, and it was a real attack. And I'm still very confrontational, and I will go at people head on, sometimes even violently. And it's not right of me. And I need to beg for forgiveness, and even at people. Hell, I've had to do it with Pastor. And Larry was in my ears going, you need to stop. And here's where you need to look in the Bible. And being a Baptist, Larry was one of the men who told me, along with my father, see, they were going to the same meetings.
Mm.
And my father used to take me to these meetings going, Frank, you need these things, even though you don't use drugs and you don't drink, because you're crazy. And what he meant was, I can be violent, I can go at people head on, and it's because I get hurt. And nowadays they call it butt hurt. And it is. And it is. It's an emotional pain. But I realize now what it is it's subtle attacks whispered from others toward others that hurt me. And why? Because I love these people, and I don't want them to see me as different from a human being.
Mm.
And I have to realize I'm not of this world.
Yep.
And I often think that as a Christian, I should be seen in one way and only one way. But I also have to realize I'm still a physical form in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And as Larry was telling me this, and I'm reading these passages out loud to Larry, my heart hurt, not because of what was said about me, but because as I was reading this, I realized I harmed this man. Not the person that said what they said to Larry, but as I was reading, because I harmed a friend, a good friend. So the man that helped me realize and directed me toward Christianity, Larry, and the man I hurt, and he comes to this church, we will hang out together. And he goes to these same things, these meetings. So I'm very aware that you guys are probably sure and know who I'm talking about. I broke down into tears. I broke down into not just a violent crying fit. And I had to beg Christ to forgive me because I am Christian. And what was said to him was very real and very subtle. And I realized just how effective evil can be.
Mm-hmm.
And Larry said, well, you need to go to this man and tell him what is going on, why you're hurt, why you feel bad, why it hurts you, and why it's an evil attack. Don't go head on like you used to and what you're doing, Frank. See, Larry was right. Larry was the man that directed me toward Christianity, not toward being conflicting, being confrontational. Larry and my father. And when I say my father, I mean God. I also mean a man called Fred Osborne. See, there have been a lot of positive role models in my life, and I often forget it. And I often forget what they've told me about being confrontational and being of the world. Because like I said, and I'll say it again, I'm not of this world. None of us are who follow Christ.
All right.
You know, and like I said, it will come from a whisper, but it hurts us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be hurt the way I'm hurt. And I realized, though, when I sent this man those texts, I hurt him just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no right to.
Well, thank God for somebody like Larry who's spoken to your life to help you
Exactly.
realize those things.
Exactly. And had he not have been in my life, I still be and still am that crazy little redhead. And, you know, hopefully somehow, some way, I can sit down with the other man I'm talking about and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, not for subtle little attacks upon me, but for these passages I was just shown and had to read aloud. Because that's what Larry does. He says, read them aloud to me.
Yeah.
And I do. And I remember them when I do.
Yeah.
So to that man, both of them, Larry and the man I heard, I have to read these to him.
Very good. All right. Go ahead.
I'll go. I gotta say, there's some unique things that you grow up with a parent that is that's given their life to Christ. But Mom always taught us kids, all of us kids, including the kids that would come and stay at the house and the neighbor kids she'd babysit and all of them, that Jesus was the only thing we had to have for life.
Mm.
Everything else was extra.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Bobby.
So it is kind of a hard question for me, because there's a lot of people that been in my life, ones that I don't even remember their names. I remember them, I couldn't tell you their name though. One was my friend Larry Pruitt Jr. Not all everybody knows him. In very rough parts of my life, he'd still come around and just invite me to church.
Mm.
I had a lot of people in my life to come out, just been an encouragement. I'll just have to echo what Glenn said. It came down to it as my mom is that person. She's the only one that's prayed for me more than I think anybody else. And it's always been there for me in that way. So, through her, I've had a lot of people in my life, but when it comes down to it.
Yep, good.
So.
That's the kind of power I want. So for me is a man named Gary Huffman. He's a person early in my life that stands out as a man whose single focus was to live with his all for Jesus. He was the principal of the school I went to from 3rd grade to 6th grade. The message that still repeats in my mind to this day is, Aaron, keep on keeping on and God will greatly use you. And I've never forgotten that. And my mom has repeated that so many times to me as well. But I can remember just as a young kid, and this was even before I was saved. I wanted to go and tell everybody about Jesus, and he said, "Well, come with me. We can go tell people about Jesus." And he would take me out on Thursday nights to go tell people about Jesus, because I wanted to, and he wanted to encourage that. And when I graduated high school, because I was homeschooled, my mom and dad said, who's one person that you would want to speak at your graduation? I said, I want Gary Huffman to speak at my graduation. He had done my brother's graduations, and now, I was 5 years removed from my brother's, graduating, and so he even made the sacrifice. They had just got back from a missions trip to Mexico, and then drove from Illinois to Georgia just to come and do my graduation ceremony for me. And it was amazing, and that stuck with me all these years. And he's gone through a whole lot of things. He was pastoring a church. Some people came into the church and spread lies. They voted him out of the church, but he stayed at the church, just faithfully serving and loving people, until God one day revealed that all these lies were being told about him. And the church said, we're removing those people that lied about you, and we're restoring you as the pastor of the church. But he never had a cross word to say, never was angry at the people for what they did. And it's something that has stuck with me all my life, to think of his character and that singular focus on Jesus. So, number 5, We'll try to go ahead and get through scratching the surface. Number 5, use a 2-word sentence to describe each of the devil's temptations to the Lord, and a 2-word sentence to summarize each of the Lord's answers.
Apparently, I'll go.
Yes.
Smack in the I have a lot of scribbles, but I started as you are and God said.
Mm. For all 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
for all 3? I just kind of summed it up as because the devil kind of tried to point everything toward God
that's
or toward
fine.
Jesus
Yeah.
as, hey, look at you, look
Yes.
at you.
No, that's still good.
And then Jesus came back as just simply as God said. And
Yeah.
I misunderstood that one. So
No, you're good. No, that still works. All right, Kara, and then Kelly, and
I wrote Jesus was overwhelmed with hunger. Yes, it said 2 sentences at first. 2 sentences. Two sentences.
word
a
sentence.
2-word
Two-word sentence.
sentence.
Word sentence. That means 1, 2.
Overwhelmed,
Period.
hunger, cliff. Okay. Okay. There we go.
Cliff is only one word. You have to use 2.
My bread, my protector, my provider.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
We just have to teach
That's
you.
good.
That was good. Okay. Manifest food, God feeds. Jump off, don't tempt him. It is, you're right, it is. But, I got to push the envelope, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm confused because I have got, give everything and God's enough.
Good. All right. Anybody else? All right, who else has? Go ahead.
Don't need it, don't want it, don't tempt it.
All right, of doesn't count as a word, so. All right, so I just went with classic lust of the flesh, or lust of flesh. God provides. Pride of life, don't tempt. Lust of eyes, worship God. But of doesn't count. Yes. Yeah, it's hard to. Actually, God said, I am. That's a sentence. All right. Number 6. In Matthew 4:22, the Bible says that James and John left the ship and their father to immediately follow Jesus. Write a journal entry from the day as if from the perspective of their father Zebedee. I love these things. You have to use your imagination. All right, Miss Kelly.
I have to read it. Okay.
I'm going to have to do my Jewish voice.
This is I'm not really a good writer. I'm not the best writer, but I was excited. Today a man came and called my sons to go with him and work with him. And to my surprise, they just went. I don't understand what they were thinking. And now, what am I going to do? Who's going to help me? I don't know how I'm going to go tell their mother.
Good?
Just for that one verse.
Yeah. All right, anybody else have something for that one?
So I put my sons left today to go follow this man that came today and asked them to follow him, and they'll make him fishers of men. He had such comfort in his eyes that I knew my sons would be good and everything would be fine.
Good. Like it. Frank. Oh, why can't you use the Jewish voice?
An Irish one, maybe.
Hey.
First of all, it's good to have Robbie back here at night.
Yes.
Second of all, I didn't write this, but, I guess Zebedee, I would have wrote, my son's left with a preacher. I don't know what to expect. I seem kind of scared, but at the same time proud. He told them to leave the parents and follow me. From then on, they did. Once again, I'm kind of scared, but kind of proud.
Very good. right, anybody else? Somebody's calling one in. Alex, is that you? You have is your phone on back there?
Not anymore. I had a hard time writing. I have a hard time with that whole question. I have a hard time with that whole question because I believe that Zebedee actually believed and heard when Jesus talked to him. I believe that he, at that time, thought that he was the Son of Christ, or God, that he was the Christ.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time putting myself into perspective like that because I keep imagining it from the perspective that he knew it was Christ.
Yeah.
And he knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And he just accepted it and went with it. So I didn't write anything down for it.
Gotcha. You have something, Renee? Renee, you have something? You don't have anything? You gonna read it for mommy? Can you read her handwriting?
Today was a heartfelt day. My sons have left home, but I am rejoicing because they are following the Messiah.
Yay. All right, and then Kara, send that on back. Airmail it. No, don't airmail.
I feel like Allison would have a really good arm. I wrote, "Oh, my sons left today. I will miss them, but God is with them."
Good. I like it. My boys have left. Most parents would be devastated, especially when your boys are the backbone of your business. But my heart rejoices. I've always felt that there must be a higher calling for my boys than to be fishers. So when Jesus came calling and my boys dropped their nets to follow him, I gave them a squeeze of the shoulder because I knew this must be the higher calling that Jehovah must have for them. I cannot be more proud of my boys for following that call. A slur. I wasn't Indian. Welcome to 7-Eleven. Thank you. Come again. Yes, it was a little off at the beginning. Yes. All right, very good. Isn't it fun to have fun at the church? So, yes, it is fun to think. And it's fun to put yourself in the shoes of the people of the Bible. It makes the Bible come to life. Again, that's one of the reasons why I love watching that show, The Chosen. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, oh, man, it just brings everything to life. And I've been sitting here in anticipation, waiting for season 4 to come out, and it's not here yet. Yes. I should. What was that? Like Matthew? Yeah. So, well, very good. Well, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and have prayer time. I do have a special request that came in yesterday.